It's live.
Well, good evening and good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. This is a first for UK Colt fans. It was going to be us, but thanks to our friend here, Lawrence, he has saved our life because technology always works when you need it to work, Moist. So go and check him out. Twitter, Colts Law, is it? I believe.
No, I had to change my Twitter. It's at Colts Law, Colts _ Law, but my actual profile name now is Lawrence Owen NFL. But yeah, it's at Colts _ Law.
There you go, guys. Check it out. Right. To start, just some quick fire news. Just sum up what you think about these. So, first thing, Ryan Kelly, a deserved extension, 4 years, 50 million, highest paid center in the NFL. And I'm sure if you went back and found it, I asked a couple of fans, should we trade him? And fans were saying to me, are you crazy? Some people thought we wouldn't even get a second round pick for him. I thought we could, but the guy has absolutely made me humble pie there. What do you think of that? Well deserved?
Oh, yeah, definitely well deserved. And it's not like it's a ton of money for an offensive lineman. Yes, he's getting paid the highest on average over the 4-year period at $12.5 million a year for 4 years. But when you look at the next highest people on that list, Harrison for the Raiders is the next highest, and he makes $1 million less. And Kelly's a better center than him. He deserves that, and it's not like the NFL stands for not for long for a reason. And that means just because you're the highest paid now doesn't mean it's going to be there for long, right? This time next year, I'm sure there'll be another center in the NFL that'll make more than him. But when it comes to centers, Ryan Kelly is a beast. Him and Quentin Nelson have such a good connection with each other that when they go into their blocking schemes, they know whether or not one person has that guy or not, and then the separate person, whether it be Quentin or Ryan Kelly, can move on to the next level and get a block down on a linebacker or a safety. So definitely worth the money. Well worth the money.
I don't know if you saw this on Twitter. I think it was Stephen Summit broke it, but apparently Jacob Eason starting week 1. Now I looked at this and thought he might take a couple of snaps. Is this first game going to be a bit of a warm-up game, if you get what I mean? But what do you think of that? Because apparently that broke that we starting week 1 and the internet blew up.
Someone showed me that tweet for Ian Rappaport, and then I looked at it and I realized that was not actually Ian Rappaport that was doing it. It was a fake account trying to throw out information. I don't expect Eason to take snaps at all this year unless somebody gets hurt. Now, granted, from all reports, Jacob Eason is progressing very, very well in training camp and in practices. Phillip Rivers is kind of in awe of his arm talent, which says a lot right there. But he still has a lot to learn. I mean, he is learning how to dissect defenses. He's learning how to get his guys, his weapons in positions in order to best take advantage of what a defense has given him, things like that. But I don't expect Eason to take any snaps early. We got two. One starting quarterback and then one fringe starting quarterback right in front of him. So I really don't see it.
Yeah, cool. And I don't know your situation with quarantine in the minute in America and how that's going, but there was talk of the Colts getting 2,500 fans in the stadium. So would you prefer no fans at all or some fans? What would you prefer?
Preference, I'd still take fans. I believe that they're doing, the NFL in general is doing a very good job of separating players, coaches, staff members, fans, things of that nature. 2,500 people in a stadium that can hold 80,000. These people are going to be sitting like 10 feet away from each other, right?
Yeah.
And then of course the stadium will be completely sanitized after the game so that you don't have no issues with that later. I have no problem. I would have no problem with 10,000 fans because that's still four seats apart on either side. So I don't see how that's still 4 seats. That's 10 feet or what, about 3 meters. So that's plenty of separation. I just, as long, because right now, so far in all of training camp and all of practices, only 10 total people have contracted coronavirus that's tested positive. Only 4 of those were players. So I think they have the right things in place right now, and it's as safe as I think as it can be to play NFL with or without fans. So you might, if your state could allow you to have fans, definitely let them have fans. That way, it helps your team out with, I mean, come on. I mean, your team's going to want that energy, even though it's not maximum energy on the field. It's some kind of energy that they can feed off of.
Yeah. Okay. And last point for quick fire news. Position battle. I know you asked me about it when I was on your show, but we missed one. Who's going to be our kicker, Chase or Hot Rod? Who's it going to be? Because apparently Hot Rod is getting very hot.
Well, that's news that'll be found out very shortly. Today they are announcing all their releases. Hot Rod or Chase has not been named yet. From what I'm understanding, Chase McLaughlin won training camp.
Yeah.
Like he won it. Now I don't know. I honestly don't know. If they go with the rookie, that's fine by me. I mean, going with a kid that's got a great leg, strong leg, that might mean that the punter Sanchez wouldn't have to kick off because Rodrigo's leg is strong enough to do the kickoffs himself.
Mm-hmm.
But Chase is proven, at least since he's been with the Colts. So I wouldn't be surprised if Chase wins, but then again, I wouldn't be too freaked out if Rodrigo won as well.
Cool. Right, that's all for quickfire news, and now we get into the fun. I'm going to break down who I think is going to finish where in each division, and we can clip this, and we can come back to it, and we can see how much of a fool I look on every single team probably going to prove me wrong. And you can tell me how mental I am and how crazy those Brits are. So starting, we'll save the AFC South to last because that's ours. So we'll go across and we'll go to NFC South. What I see in this division, 2 really good teams are going to be, and 2 not so good teams. I've got the Saints winning it, Tampa Bay coming second, the Panthers third, and the Falcons fourth. What do you think about that? I don't know if you've looked much into it recently, but who do you reckon is going to win that division?
I've got the Saints winning it.
Yeah.
I've got the Saints winning. I got Tampa coming in a close second. It's tough. I don't think the Panthers have a very good team. Outside of Christian McCaffrey, I don't think that their overall team is very good. I'm not very happy with their quarterback situation with Bridgewater.
Yeah.
The Falcons, I think, have a better team.
Yeah.
But I think the Falcons have a tougher schedule than the Panthers. So you legitimately could be right. The Panthers could win more games than what the Falcons do.
Yeah.
But I don't expect either one of them to win more than 6 games.
So NFC North. And again, this NFC North, it depends what team turns up because all of these teams on the day can be very good teams. But also these teams can be very bad teams. So I've got the Vikings winning it. I've got Detroit and Green Bay in a close second, third battle, could go either way. I got Chicago down in fourth. I'm probably going to get a lot of stick from that from friends who are Chicago fans, but you on the similar lines or have you got something different?
I have something different.
Yeah, fire away.
I have Green Bay winning it.
Yeah.
I have Green Bay winning the division just because even with the teams that he's had, Aaron Rodgers always seems to have a way of winning games, right? I've got, believe it or not, the second team coming into that division, the Detroit Lions. I actually have Detroit actually. Wait, we're going to be talking about playoff seeding, right? Or no?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll leave that out.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll leave that
you can
out.
talk about that because you guys probably know a bit more like who plays who. I'm still learning stuff like that, so I'll let you talk about that when we get to it. So if you want to leave that out, leave it out for now.
All right. So I got Detroit coming in second to the Packers. Almost said the Panthers. But I have them actually having at least an 8-8 record, at least maybe 9-7 for Detroit, because I feel that Detroit is a better team this year than what they have been in the past few years. And at the bottom, I've got Bears and Vikings. I don't like what the Vikings are sitting at right now. They lost their two best cornerbacks. Granted, they drafted one to replace Xavier Rhodes, who are now on the Colts. They drafted Jefferson to be a wide receiver to replace Diggs, who's now on the Bills. Cook, the running back, Dalvin, he may not even play because, I mean, yes, he's practicing, but he said he wouldn't play a snap until he got a contract extension. So that's going to make the running back situation bad. So the Vikings are sitting in a position where a lot of their talented players aren't there or may not be there. So I don't see the Vikings the same team as they were last year. So I think the Bears defense, though, is very, very, very strong.
Very strong. Always has been.
Yes. It's just really, it's the question on whether or not Mitch Trubisky, who's been named the starter over Nick Foles, is able to improve at all this season. So I got the Bears and the Vikings kind of basically tied for last place.
Okay. So, all right. NFC West. This has one of my favorite teams. I'll say I've got a bit of soft spot for him just because I'm a big fan of Jimmy G. The 49ers winning it. I have the Seahawks and the Rams. Now, I know the Rams have had the move recently, but they can still throw it out there when they want to. And then I have the Cardinals in last.
That's a safe bet.
Yeah.
That's a safe bet. Don't underestimate Seattle, though. I mean, they went out, they got Adams at safety in the trade from the Jets, which is, I mean, Jamal's one of the best safeties in the league. He'll help their run defense out quite a bit. And they went out and got a couple wide receivers. San Francisco's hurting. They have like 5 people on IR, 5 like starters on IR, including a couple wide receivers. So that's hurting them pretty bad. But I mean, they focus more on the run than they do the pass. So as long as their defense can continue to be as dominant as they were last year and continue to run the football, I think that them in Seattle will be a very close at the top of that division. Then Arizona and the Rams. That's tough. Gurley's not on the Rams no more. He's on the Falcons. So that's going to be interesting. Cook is no longer. The Rams defense is better than what it was last year. I think they've added a few people, but the Cardinals offense is going to be better this year because they added people like, let's say maybe the best wide receiver in football in DeAndre Hopkins. I can see both these teams finishing out with at least somewhere between 6 and 7 wins, but I don't see them getting much more than that.
Okay. Cool. All right. The last in the NFC group, the NFC East. Now, I was reading up on this division, and this is an interesting one because I generally don't have a clue who's going to win this division. I've been a bit of a bandwagon and said the Cowboys are going to win it. I think they might click this year. I think we could see something very interesting happening in Dallas. Washington in a second. That's I know he has his haters, but being a Buckeye fan, I'm a big fan of Dwayne Haskins. I have seen what he can do. It's just if he has a team around him to help him do that. And they have the Eagles in third and then New York in fourth. But like I say, this division is really, I think, nobody knows much about it, to be honest, apart from one or two people, because I think it could go either way for any one of them teams.
All right, so I cover the NFL on a daily basis. So I got a pretty good link to all four of these teams, believe it or not. And I think you're right with Dallas being on top. They have the firepower both on offense and they've been adding people on defense. Their offense, talent wise, may be the best in the NFL.
Yeah.
But I mean, they had a great offense last year, still finished 8-8 and didn't even make the playoffs. But I think that they'll be able to turn that around a little bit. I think they'll make the playoffs. They'll win their division. I have the Philadelphia Eagles coming in second.
Yeah.
As long as Carson Wentz can stay healthy, I think this team has a very good shot. Actually, I have the Giants coming in third. I can't bet against Saquon Barkley. I think Daniel Jones is a decent quarterback. I think he'll step it up. He had like a crap ton of fumbles his rookie year, but that's something that he could definitely fix. Washington, I have a little issue with because I like Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's a starter yet. I don't think he should have been put in the fire his rookie season.
No.
I think his sophomore season, I think he still needs to sit back and learn a little bit. If it wasn't for the fact that Alex Smith's leg was like tore up like it is, I would rather have Alex Smith in there for Washington. But you also got to remember, they don't have their top two running backs. Darius Juice was released after his situation. He had a personal thing where he's now being charged with some domestic crimes. And then they released Adrian Peterson. So they're going with some no names. I believe a third-round pick that they have at running back from this year. So I think this is going to be more of a learning curve for Washington, the Washington football team, than anything.
Yeah. What I will say about Daniel James is I know both Eli and Peyton Manning had a lot of praise for that kid. And for them two to be giving you praise, that's a high caliber of quarterbacks that are saying this kid's got it. So, and young, hungry, and like you say, Saquon, everyone knows is one of the better running backs in the league. So it's interesting. A lot of cold games there as well. A lot of bad weather games, I can imagine. Okay, so switching it over to the AFC now. We'll start with the AFC East. And I see New England coming out on top. I hate saying that as a Colts fan, but Belichick, he always finds a way. Of course, he always finds a way. Bit of a surprise, going Miami second. I think the look on your face says it all, but with Tua coming in, I think it's going to be young. I think it's going to be hungry, and I think it's going to be a fun team to watch next year. And Buffalo third, and maybe not as much as a surprise, the Jets in fourth. But yeah, New England, I think they'll find a way. Miami, I think will be a fun place to be. Buffalo, I think Buffalo always seem to be one or two pieces out from a great team. They always seem to be missing one player here, or they will be a great team, and then they always seem to be missing a player on defense, and they'll be a great team. And yeah, the Jets, maybe not a great year for them.
All right, so the one thing I can agree with you with is I think the Jets will come in last. This is another reason. I think the Jets and the Jaguars are kind of sitting on who's going to have the worst record in the NFL this year.
Yeah.
I have the Bills coming in first. I think the Bills defense is very, very solid. They have one of the better secondaries. They have a great pass rush. They added Diggs to the wide receiving core to help Josh Allen out. Josh made steps last year. I think it was a 6% increase in completion percentage from his rookie to a sophomore year. If he could do that again to his third year in the NFL, he will become a legit quarterback in the NFL. I think that Buffalo is a very solid team. Now, nipping on their heels, I have the New England Patriots. I have them like nipping. Obviously, like you said, this is a Bill Belichick team. They're still walking in with the best secondary in the NFL, minus 2 players, Chung and one of their pass rushers, what was it, Hightower.
Yeah.
I think they opted out for the season due to the COVID-19. But still, they added Cam Newton to replace Tom Brady. And I'm sorry, last time Cam Newton was healthy, he was balling before he got his shoulder dislocated. He in 14 games in 2018, he had near 68% completion percentage, plus all the running and stuff. And from all reports, Belichick is absolutely in love with how Cam Newton's been training. So I've got them like just nipping on the Buffalo Bills' heels. I got Miami in third.
Yeah.
I think they're doing a good job. As you're probably kind of alluded to this a little bit. Miami's moving in a positive direction this year. Yeah. I like what they did in the offseason with their offseason free agency. I like what they did with their draft. I think Tua will make a good quarterback. I think Fitzpatrick is an excellent person for Tua to learn from. I think they've got the only problem is they've got too many new people, too many rookies, so that this is going to be a learning curve year for them. Rookies generally don't succeed, especially quarterbacks. Generally don't have big time success their rookie year. It's usually their sophomore and their third season that they really jump out in the NFL and say, here I am. And then, of course, as I said, the Jets are dead last, in my opinion, in the AFC East.
Yeah. Yeah, right. On to the AFC West. One of the bigger teams of this year, I think, Kansas City winning the division. The big contracts with Patty Mahomes has got everyone talking. Could that hinder him? Maybe, but I've got them winning it. And thinking about it as well, like this was a tough race to put the rest of these teams. I was unsure, like looking at schedules. Raiders, I've got Raiders in a second, with Chargers in a close third. Maybe tie. I think, can the Chargers hold it together? Like, I think we'll see how big of an impact Phillip Rivers has, not just on a team, but in the locker room. And then I've got the Broncos coming in last. You're going to probably tell me I'm wrong by the look on your face, but what do you think?
I think you are sleeping on the Broncos.
Yeah.
I think the Broncos have an incredibly good defense. I think their offense may be the most improved offense in the NFL this year, even over the Indianapolis Colts. I think Drew Lock is really the guy that's going to hold them back or make them succeed. They have a lot of really good receivers, and then of course they went out and drafted one of the best receivers in the draft. They've got 2 really good running backs in Phillip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon. Sitting back there at running back, Noah Fant at tight end, Cortland Sutton solid at wide receiver. I have them second in this division and really fighting for a playoff spot. Obviously, Kansas City's first because they're the Super Bowl champions and they really haven't had any kind of roster turnover.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very difficult to dethrone that team. I have the Raiders coming in third. Just because they have not had a massive turnover at any big spots on their team. They still have Carr at quarterback. They still have Jacobs at running back. They have an okay wide receiver core. Their defense is okay. Nothing, to write home about, but I believe that they're third. San Diego is giving me issues. Derwin James is on IR now.
Yeah.
So, and they no longer have Melvin Gordon. So they're relying on Austin Eckler and Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. I am not a fan of Tyrod Taylor. I am not and I'm not. I don't think Justin Herbert is that great of a quarterback coming out of the draft. I think they really reached with the the 6th pick or something like that to pick Justin Herbert in the draft. The Chargers have weapons,
yeah,
but I think their quarterback situation is going to hold them back.
I don't know. So on to AFC North. This, I'd say, is a tough division. I reckon, apart from the Bengals, I've got them in dead last. But I think these 3 teams, and especially Cleveland, I think so much building in Cleveland. And like we were saying earlier before we went live, if Cleveland can win consistently, that's the problem. They can win, that's not the problem, but they need to win consistently. Mm-hmm. So first, I've got Big Ben and the Steelers. I think they're going to have a good year. The Ravens second, and I think that's just because a lot of teams are going to work out how Lamar Jackson plays. You know, we see it every year. A new style of player will come in. Defenses go into the off-season, watch a load of film, right? Instead of dropping back a middle linebacker, just go a bit further out wide, force him inside, that sort of thing. I think teams are going to work out Baltimore, and to be honest, towards the end of last season, they showed a bit of frailty and a bit of no plan B sort of thing. I know they still did well in the terms of thing, and it's a good time to be a Ravens fan, but I think they still showed a bit of, well, we've shut Lamar up in the running game, what do we do now, sort of thing. I've got Cleveland in a clear third over the Bengals. What do you think?
Well, the Ravens were 14-2 or 13-3, something like that last year. I mean, they had the number 1 spot in the AFC. I think you're right. I think they will figure out a little bit but you can't stop that RPO with Lamar Jackson. You might be able to limit it, but I don't think you can legitimately stop it. So I got them still number 1 because their defense is still very solid and their run game is just outstanding. The return of Big Ben will help the Steelers out dramatically because they have a very fast, athletic, opportunistic defense in Pittsburgh. And with the return of Big Ben, Roethlisberger for Pittsburgh, I think you're going to get a huge upgrade at quarterback over the options that they had the entire season last year. Yeah. So I got them coming in second. Cleveland will be third, but they'll be right there with Pittsburgh as long as they can keep, like you say. I mean, which Cleveland team's going to show up? Is it going to be the team that's going to work well with each other and not point the finger and blame others for mistakes and why people lose or whatnot? Or are they going to work together and keep their head down and focus on winning games? Because if they can do that, this is a dangerous team. They have talent. They have talent all over the place. And I got Cincinnati dead last, as you do. Yes, I understand. They have Joe Mixon at running back. I understand that they have A.J. Green, but A.J. Green hasn't been A.J. Green for 3 years because of injuries. So I don't expect him to all of a sudden be in his 30s now and be like, oh, I'm no longer injury prone. I get that they did draft one of my favorite receivers. And of course they have Joe Burrow, but as I said earlier, year 1 quarterbacks, especially if they're drafted number 1 overall, almost never have good first seasons because the team is picking number 1 for a reason. They have too many holes to fill, and a rookie quarterback cannot put a team on his back and learn the NFL and get to NFL speed with that many holes on a team that quickly, generally, with very few exceptions. I mean, even Peyton Manning, his rookie year was awful, right? Led the NFL in interceptions. I think the team went 4-12 or something like that. I mean, it was terrible. So I'm expecting a very similar situation with Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Cool. Moving on to, in my opinion, no, I'm going to say it. In fact, the hardest division in the NFL, and you could say that just because I'm a Colts fan, but I reckon no team wants to come to the AFC South next year. No team. And I'm going to start with the Jags winning it. No, joking.
I knew it was a joke as soon as it came out of your mouth.
Imagine. No, I've got the Colts winning it. I think we both agree the Colts are going to do. I think it's a good time to be a Colts fan. I think that's best that I can say about them. I've got the Titans coming in second and coming hard in second. I think we slip up. I reckon they're there to take it off us. I got the Texans in third and the Jags, unfortunately for the Jag fans, in dead last. Probably getting number one pick.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I got the Colts. If they can stay healthy, I got the Colts winning the AFC South by a landslide, actually. Okay. Yeah, I see the Titans kind of a 9-7 team. I mean, they've been a 9-7 team for the last 3 years. They really haven't changed a whole lot outside of, I mean, they lost Jarrell Casey, which is a big player up the middle on that defensive line for them, a good run stopper and can push the middle for a little bit of pass rush as well. They lost AJ Boye at cornerback, but they drafted someone to try to replace him as well. So I got them coming in second. I got Houston coming in third, but a strong third. I got them probably around 8-8 or so. Mm-hmm. Yes, I understand they don't have DJ Reader on the inside of that defensive line. He's a big run stopping defensive lineman who now plays for the Baltimore Ravens, by the way. Like that was the biggest free agency situation for the Texans, right? Yes, Hopkins is no longer on the Texans, but they have a plethora of wide receivers. And I think without Hopkins being on there, I think that Deshaun Watson, who for the next 4 years will be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
Jeez.
He just got an extension. He's making $39 million a year for the next 4 years, which means during that 4-year span, he's the highest paid player in the NFL. Yes, Patrick Mahomes has a 10-year, $500 million contract, but most of that money is on the back end of the contract rather than the front end, where Watson is getting $39 million a year for 4 years, and then he gets a new contract that can re-sign some more money.
Crazy.
Yeah, but without Hopkins there, that'll mean that Watson will be able to forced to spread the ball around more, be able to go through his progressions a little bit more rather than just sit there in the pocket and wait for Hopkins to get one-on-one or get open or something and throw it to him. So I think that'll actually make Watson a better quarterback long term, and I think Houston will be a solid 8-8 team coming into this season. And then, of course, the Jaguars, who are just giving away everybody, for I have no idea what they're doing. Obviously, the front office is like, let's trade everyone away so we can get the first pick and go get Trevor Lawrence. That's obvious, but I mean, come on. Doug Marrone, I have no idea what he's doing. I am more confused with Doug Marrone than I am Bill O'Brien right now. So that says something. The head coach for the Texans, just don't understand him. But yeah, I'm looking at the Jaguars being the number one pick as well this season.
Cool. Right. Just before we get into playoffs and Super Bowl and who's going to win it all, I've got some fun questions for you, all football related. And the first one, would you rather have an informed T.Y. Hilton or an informed DeAndre Hopkins? Now, I want you to think about it because as Colt fans, we know what T.Y. Hilton can do. Unplayable. And you've also got informed DeAndre Hopkins, big guy, go up and get it. It's also fast for a tall guy, which, is there's fast and then there's NFL fast. And I think he's really up there with NFL fast. So which one are you taking?
A lot of Colts fans will hate me for this, but I mean, a couple of years ago, he had 120 catches and didn't drop a single one. Hopkins. That if that's in form, I'll take the guy who never drops a pass ever. Okay. I get it. I love T.Y. Hilton. Yeah. I think he could take a top off a defense. He's a good route runner. Makes any team better. But I mean, Hopkins is the best receiver in football. So I would take Hopkins.
Okay. Okay. Next question. Who wins in battle between the Oklahoma drill, I think it is, where they go up against each other, like a scrimmage sort of thing. I think that's what you call it. But who would win between Quentin Nelson and DeForest Buckner?
All right. That's a tough question. So that question actually come in on camp question a few times, who generally gets the best of who. And Quentin Nelson is always like, oh, DeForest Buckner's tough. He keeps me on my game. And DeForest Buckner's always like, Quentin Nelson's fundamentals are just so good that it's hard to get past him. I think in general, snaps wise, like if you take snaps, like 10 snaps and, count who wins what, I think that Quentin Nelson will probably win the majority.
Yeah.
But DeForest Buckner will have his shots where he gets in there and gets his from time to time.
Okay. Next question. Who made you fall in love with the Colts? Like what player? So for me, I don't know, this is going to come as a surprise, but for me it was Joseph Adai. From how I got to liking the Colts and finding out about the Colts, he was the best player for the Colts on the game. Well, he was the running back. He was the most you could do, like tricks and spins and hurdles and stuff. So for me, he was the reason that I love Colts football today. Who was your player who you sat there and went, I wish I could do that with a football?
I have two of them. And I'm an old Colts fan. Okay. I've been a Colts fan since 83 when they traded over from Baltimore. Mm-hmm. But that was because, I live in Indiana. I live 60 minutes away from the Indianapolis Colts Stadium at the time, which was the RCA Dome. But big play, Ray Buchanan, cornerback / safety, back in the 80s and 90s. And then Albert Bentley, the running back, during that same period of time. Bentley, if you didn't know who he is, he's kind of similar to what Joseph Adai was, right? Yeah. Only I think a little bit bigger, a little stronger. So, those are the two guys that made me go, I'm glad I'm a Colts fan. I like watching these guys as a Colts fan.
That's cool. And the last question, I don't know if you watch Pat McAfee's show. He was talking about Frank Gore Jr. and apparently he is just like his dad. He's a monster at running back. And they talked about if Frank Gore plays, I think 3 more years in the NFL, I don't think he will, but if he can, he could end up facing off against his son. So if you had to pick like one to back, do you pick the young son, Frank Gore Jr., who's apparently just a spitting image of his dad, or do you pick the old horse and who Colts fans? I think he won over a lot of Colts fans. Don't get me wrong, we loved him when he came, but I think he had to win over a lot of the fan base. So are you taking in that battle, the young or the old?
Oh, well, you got to go with Frank Gore Sr. I mean, my goodness, look at the career he's had. I mean, he's still playing and playing at a productive level. So, I mean, he's averaging 4 yards a carry. I hate the fact that he's on the Jets because that's like, awful for him. Yeah. But I mean, you obviously take the guy who year in year out is able to produce for whatever team that he plays for, and that he's just a monster at the game. I mean, he's almost never hurt, and that's coming off of two knee surgeries. Um, early in his career, and they were saying that he may never play football again, and he comes back and just has this monster career. I would take Frank Gore Sr. in a heartbeat because I don't. I mean, Frank Gore Jr. might be great,
Yeah.
but I'll take Senior.
Okay, right. So moving on from that, like I say, just some fun questions, and next time we're on, we'll have some more, and we'll dive into it a bit more. But just before the playoffs, I want your MVP of the year. Can be anyone. Doesn't have to be necessarily who the MVP is going to be, but who you think your favorite player is going to be of the year. Not Colts, all teams. Worst flop of the draft, and who you think is maybe not going to win it, but who's going to do the best for the franchise?
MVP?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'll give you a dark horse.
Okay.
I think Matt Stafford's going to have a chance for MVP.
Oof, that is a shout. Any reason, or do you just like the guy?
Well, I mean, I've always liked Matt Stafford, but
yeah.
the reasoning is this is the first year in, as far as I can remember, that the Detroit Lions have even attempted to put weapons around one of their star players. Mm-hmm. I mean, back when they had Barry Sanders retired early because they wouldn't give him any help, and he could never do anything, could never get to the playoffs, could never do anything in the playoffs because he was there by himself. Megatron, same thing. He retired because there was just no help for him. Stafford, same situation. Now they went out and they drafted a bunch of people. They've been picking some people up. Granted, I mean, you're looking at like the Detroit Patriots because a lot of those, players on Detroit were picked up from New England. But they are adding people around Matt Stafford. I'm expecting Matt Stafford to have a big year. And I think they make the playoffs barely. And because they make the playoffs barely, I think that Matt Stafford could if you ever go look at his stats without any of that help, like I'm talking about, without any real people there for him to throw to, or a good offensive line, or a good running back situation, his stats are always good.
Yeah.
Now they're adding talent to him. I expect those stats to be even better, and the Lions to actually go somewhere this year.
Cool. Okay. So next one, biggest flop. So
draft flop, right?
I know you said about quarterbacks don't have a great year, but that doesn't necessarily mean they do bad. Who is gonna all the hype? Who's gonna plummet to the ground hard?
Is like draft or team?
Yeah, draft. Like which player out of the draft?
Oh, the biggest flop.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not going to say Joe Burrow because he could have a really bad year, but I mean, look at the team that he's on, right? Yeah. I would say Herbert if he was going to be quarterbacking, but I don't think he's going to be the starter. I think that Tyrod Taylor will be the starter for that team. Mm-hmm. Let me. Henry Ruggs.
He was a guy who I thought if we didn't trade out the first round, I was going to take if I was a Colt. So
I just don't see. Yes, he's fast.
Yeah.
But he went to the Eagles, I think, right?
Was it not the Raiders?
Hold on. What's the Raiders? Hold on. Let me see.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, he did it. He went to the Raiders. Yeah, you're right. He is fast. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you got Carr throwing the football, and I just don't like the situation that Ruggs is in at that point with the type of offense that they have, the quarterback throwing him the football. he's going to be that guy on that team that teams are going to be like, in the passing game, we have to stop Ruggs. Mm-hmm. They're going to drop a safety over the top to make sure he cannot burn people deep and play him tight man to man. They're going to play him the way teams play Tyreek Hill for the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're in that same division. Yeah. So teams understand how to play those types of players, and I think he's going to be kind of disappointing for that team.
Interesting. And the last one, which franchise is going to win this season the most? Doesn't have to be just winning the Super Bowl, but who's going to be best for business at the end of the year?
Two shots. I think Detroit and the Colts. I think they'll have the biggest turnaround. I understand the Colts was 7-9 last year.
Yeah.
And I think that they will legitimately at least get an extra 4 wins on top of that minimum, as long as they stay healthy, relatively. And the Lions, like I said, if they make the playoffs, that'll be a huge boost for Detroit. I mean, a lot of no one has listed Detroit as a playoff team in many years. So if they make the playoffs, it's a big jump for them.
Cool. All right. Yeah. So moving on to playoffs and Super Bowl now. So I've only got the AFC Championship game and the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. So if you want to, you said you'd seeded. If you want to go through who you seeded and who you think is making it first, and then I'll come in with my prediction after you.
All right. Seeding, I have Kansas City being seeded first, followed by the Baltimore Ravens, then the Indianapolis Colts, and then the Buffalo Bills. And then the 3 teams behind that, I have the New England Patriots, the Denver Broncos, and the Tennessee Titans. That's the AFC.
Yeah.
And in the NFC, I have, I can't remember exactly. Division winners being the Cowboys, Green Bay, the Saints, and the Niners. And then I have the Seahawks, Tampa, and Detroit Lions.
Okay. So who have you got going through? Who have you got making it all the way? And who have you got winning the whole thing?
I have the Colts making it to the AFC Championship game. But I think that they lose in the AFC Championship game. I believe they lose to Baltimore.
Oh, okay.
I think it'll be a tight game. I think Baltimore finally makes it to the Super Bowl. In the NFC, I have the Niners and no, I'm sorry. I have Seattle and Dallas in the NFC Championship game.
Okay.
And I have Seattle beating them out and going to the Super Bowl.
Wow. And who do you have winning it?
Winning it all?
Yeah.
Seattle.
Oh.
Yep. Okay. I think Seattle because they have Jamal Adams. I think Adams has proven to be a weapon against Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be a tipping stone for Seattle.
Okay, cool. So I've not seeded it, but I've got the Colts making it to the AFC game against the Chiefs. I've got and the 49ers against the Saints in the NFC game. And the Super Bowl, this is how I want it to be. This would be the fairy tale. The Colts, the Saints, some revenge for the Colts, and the Colts win. But
that'd be an awesome Super Bowl win. I mean, to beat the Saints.
But in reality, I have the Saints going all the way, coming against the Chiefs, and I have the Saints winning it. You know, a lot of people are talking it's Drew Brees last year. I think he's going to put MVP caliber level So I think it's going to be hard for teams to stop Drew Brees.
I think you're probably right. The NFL always seems to end up writing itself for playoffs. You know, like last time the Saints won a Super Bowl was, you know, that Hurricane Katrina when, you know, New Orleans was underwater. So they needed that win. Drew Brees retiring possibly after this year. If the Saints win the Super Bowl, that would be a nice little fairy tale ending for Drew Brees in his career.
Yeah, cool. That's all I've written down. If there's anything, you know, you think is going to happen or any shock twists or turns, if you want to say it now or let out now.
Well, give me a second. Give me a moment here. Rookie Robert Windsor has been waived.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's interesting. The Colts released Darius Fountain.
Oh,
that's interesting. Let's see what else we got here. Maybe wide receiver Des Patman looks like he might have made the team. Jake Eldrenkamp has been waived. The guard. Just dropping this on here for you for, you know.
yeah.
Tight end Andrew Vollert has gone. They still haven't named, from what I can tell, a kicker. Still looking. Let me scroll through his stuff. Jackson Porter has been waived. So that's interesting. Dominique Daphne's been waived. Tremon Smith has been waived. That's a interesting thing as well to be known. Travis Reed has been waived. Not seeing any other names. A name to watch as waiver wires happen. The Carolina Panthers released Hale Hinchcus, which is a big situation because we had him last year on our practice squad, and he was toted a lot like Jack Doyle, played very much like Jack Doyle, only younger. So keep an eye on that. That might be a signing for the Colts, especially with Doyle right now going through a little bit of injury, and Trey Burton also expected to miss a few weeks with a calf strain. So that's some information that I'd like to share with a lot of people. So, but a lot of things. Expect Paris Campbell's back in practice, practicing full. That's big news. I love seeing that because I expect Paris Campbell to have a big season this year. Expect a lot out of Marlon Mack this year, especially out of the passing game. I think he will probably have at least 50 targets. 50, not 15, 50 targets through the air. Rivers has been throwing him the ball a lot during training camp, and he's been catching a lot. Whereas Jonathan Taylor has been having a few drops and having a little bit of issues with it. So I expect Marlon Mack to have another great season. Whether or not he'll be on the team next year, I don't know. I doubt it, but I would love to see him come back and him and Jonathan Taylor be a dual running back threat for the Colts for a few years. But I'm not sure that's going to happen. Do you have any questions for me?
I'd say the last question before we go is my favorite pick for the Colts out of this draft is Mike Pittman. I don't know how much you know about him, but if you know a lot about him, is this guy the stud? He like that. There's whispers going around that this guy is a monster. Is he that guy? Do we get on the hype train now for Mike Pittman? And do we ride that train all the way to glory?
All right. If no one follows me, I know you do, but I have on YouTube right here, this name right here, Lawrence Owen. You just type that into YouTube. I got a lot of stuff, including film rooms, and one of the film rooms is Michael Pittman Jr., Jonathan Taylor, Jacob Eason, all these rookies that we drafted. I am very high on Michael Pittman Jr. He is a receiver the Colts have needed for years and years and years, and he's going to fill that big-bodied, strong hand, 50-50 catch guy that we have not had any luck getting and keeping, right? So I think that Pittman will be that guy, and having someone on the team like him with the threat that he can bring will allow these smaller, faster receivers more room to work. The guys like Paris Campbell and T.Y. Hilton and guys like that. So, yes, I think that Michael Pittman, don't expect Pittman to have a big rookie year. Okay. He's still learning. Rivers is still working with him. T.Y. is still working with him. He's got to get up to the NFL level. Wide receivers is very difficult to be to just make huge jumps their rookie year, much like quarterbacks. Whereas running backs and linebackers and stuff like that generally have great rookie years. Quarterbacks and wide receivers, generally, it's more of a learning curve for them. But long term, I like the prospect of Pittman on the Colts, most definitely.
Excellent. Right. Unless, do you want to plug yourself now? Tell us, I know we said it at the beginning, but tell us your Twitter handle, your video, YouTube. If you want to plug yourself now, do it now. Let us UK Colt fans, not just Colt fans, but UK fans, who is Lawrence Owen? Obviously, the brains behind this episode, but sell yourself to us.
All right. Well, first off, I want to thank you for having me on here, man. I really enjoy talking the NFL and the Indianapolis Colts specifically. And last time you were on my show, I had a blast. Everybody enjoyed who watched it, gave all thumbs up for that. So thank you for having me on here. Hello, everybody that watches, the UK Colts fans. My name is Lawrence Owen. I am the official NFL content provider analysis for Sportscaster News. You can find me on Sportscaster. That's SPORTSCASTR/Lawrence Owen. I am on Twitter at Colts_law. Profile name Lawrence Owen NFL. I'm on YouTube, Lawrence Owen. You could also type in Colts Law, COLTSLAW. That's my general Colts stuff. I have Facebook, Colts Law. I have a Facebook page on there. You can look that up as well. And I will be having more audio podcasts, breaking down upcoming games and going over post-game reports starting October 1st on my podcast, Colts Law. So thanks again for having me on here. Appreciate it.
Lawrence, thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking the time out of your day, especially working out the time difference between us. It's always fun. Colts fans around the world, thanks for watching. More to come. See you soon.
Have a good one.